Yesterday I started on a little project on my miter saw here. I'll take this board off and show you what I made. This little board here, I cut this out yesterday, made some measurements and held it up. Just a scrap piece of 1x6 I had around here. I made this. What I'm going to use this for on my miter saw is a stock for cutting certain sizes, certain length boards. There's some pieces on the miter saw that are adjustable. I'm going to build one to go on the other side too. I got it started. I ain't got it all cut out yet. But this piece here, I can put this on to the miter saw. Now I've got slots cut in it where the board will adjust just a little bit, but not much. But I can loosen up a piece on the back of my miter saw back here, and this whole piece will then slide in and out. Now what I can do with that, I can slide it, and I can take a measuring tape and measure for my blade over. If I need to cut several pieces of wood that are 12 inches long, I just slide this out, get my 12-inch, tighten this piece up, and then I can take a board, and I got the piece on the other side too. I would have to take it off. I couldn't have them on both sides at the same time. I have to put either one or the other on. So let me take this one I'm working on off of here. Losing my once I get this piece set, I can take a board, I can slide it up here, and I know exactly what it's going to be. If I got a long board that I'm cutting, I need to cut a bunch of pieces, like I'll show you here, something. Our paper towel holder that we've been working on, there's 5 pieces of board on this. 2 pieces of 1x4 and 3 pieces of 1x6 that are 14 inches long. So I can set this thing up to cut 14 inches, and I know I'm cutting the exact same size. Just slide the board up to my stop, and I'm going to get the right measurement every time. And I can turn it around. I can slide this piece in and out for various measurements. I can turn it around the other way, so this end down here is closer if I need to do short pieces. I'm making one for the other side. This one here, the other side is slightly different. The piece over here on the other side of the saw is a little bit longer. The holes are, as I measured, I was hoping the holes would be in the same spot so I could actually use the pieces on either side. But they're not. The holes, these holes they go in are a little bit different, the width of them, so I had to make 2 different boards. I cut slots in this on a router table. I took it home last night and done that, so I got a router table at home. These slots I cut by hand with a router here yesterday, but they're only about 1.25 inches long. I could do that good enough by hand. These are, I think, 2 7/8 inches long. So that, I went ahead and put it on the router table so it would do a better job, keep them straight better than I could by hand. I still got to do a little cutting out on this one. This one will bolt over here. And because my board is longer and because the piece it bolts to is longer, I can slide it out. I can cut up to 26-inch pieces on this side. This one over here, everything's a little smaller. it doesn't move quite as much. I can cut up to 16-inch pieces on this side, 16, maybe slightly over 16, because I cut these slots in it after I made the initial measurements. I was going to just put holes, and then I decided to add slots to it to give me just a little bit more movement on it, a little bit more adjustment to it, so I can get 16 or maybe a little over 16 on this side. But it'll just make the saw, because there's a lot of little projects that we build around here that the pieces we're using are not all that long, 12, 14, 18 inches, up to about 24-inch pieces on a lot of stuff. So this just makes it easy to cut the same size piece over and over. Most of this I cut out, like I say, the slots I cut out. I drilled holes on the drill press first to get my mark for where I wanted the slot to be. I put a hole at each end, and then I took the router and cut out in between the holes, and that makes it a little easier. You can do that if you got the right setup. You can do all that right on the router table if you got the right bit, the right setup, router table and all. You can mark the board. If you don't have that, like when I was doing it by hand, it was easiest to drill a hole at each end of where I wanted the slot to be, and then just cut out the center with the router. The rest of this I cut out on the bandsaw. This notch I got cut in the board here, and I got that cut the way it is. So when I extend this out, this piece comes further out to give me the maximum amount of distance from the blade for my stop. And this one I'll do the same way. I'll come in here and I'll cut out a notch down here in this board. It'll be fairly long, but it'll be the same way. I can turn it around either direction, and that gives me more adjustment. So between the two pieces, I can adjust this to cut anything from 0 pretty much up to about 26 inches on one side or the other with it. So that will make my saw a little bit easier to use. And I can get it set up and cut a whole bunch of pieces at once and get done. You don't have to measure every time and all that stuff. So we're fixing to start on. I got this traced out. I used this here, and this is cut out, by the way. The reason this is cut out in the shape it is, if you look at this piece here, it's cut out the same shape. It's cut out like that, so when you bring the saw down, if you got the board up close, it clears the board. But you got to cut a little bit out to do cuts close in. You got to have that cut out like that. Most of the time it's probably going to be out. I don't cut a whole lot of real small cuts, but I still cut them out like that, so I can move that thing in close if I need to. And we'll do the same thing with this one here. I already got it traced out here. I got to make a couple measurements. The distance here of this notch I cut in the bottom of it, that is about 1 5/8 inch. There's 2x4s, 2x6s, anything that's what we call 2-inch thick is actually only about 1.5 inches to 1 5/8 inches. Sometimes they're a little more than 1.5 inches. So I can get those, I can get anything less than 1 5/8 inches thick, I can get in here to cut it. And that's mostly what we work with, is either 1x stuff that's about 3/4 inch thick, or 2x that's about 1.5 inches thick. That's mostly what I cut on this thing with that.